Welcome to the Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic podcast.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I just want to say a big thank you for coming on, for letting us invade your house for the Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic podcast. We are flawed and foolish, me and Kamalpreet Singh, and basically you are our fantastic for today. And basically what we want to do is shine a light on, firstly, your background and how you got into the amazing work that you do, because just looking at the work, nobody else does it. And how you can inspire the youth of tomorrow to go, hang on, I want to get into this, and what can I do, and network with yourselves on a career pathway with regards to getting into this. And I there's lots of things I want to ask you about. I've got a number of questions, set questions. If you're happy, Singh, we'll go through.
Yeah. 100%.
First one, basic, it's an opener. For some people, it's the most difficult question, but who is Taran Singh?
Okay, yeah. So basically, I'm a 3D artist, a VR developer, and also recent entrepreneur as well.
Awesome. So 3D artist, VR
Developer and entrepreneur, yeah.
You're definitely an entrepreneur. No, that's brilliant. I'm going to go into those things later on anyway with your business, Taran 3D, obviously, and I want to go into other works that you've done. But I always like to get a background of somebody, because I always find that the roots and the foundations lead to where you are today. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about your family background and growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up I've lived in Handsworth my whole life. I grew up here. I've got 3 siblings. I've got an older brother and sister and a younger sister.
Yeah.
And growing up, my parents were like working class, hard workers.
Yeah.
My father was a builder. My mother used to work on a sewing machine.
Yeah.
And
so all of us overlockers and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, innit? I used to have to do the, when you do the inside out of the.
We used to have to do that and then put the stickers on the couple and do all the yarn and put it on.
So just kind of grew up just watching my mum and dad work really hard, really, innit? And we weren't really very well off or anything. So we just learned to sort of survive. Yeah. And we're always taught to be sort of content and, be happy with what we've got, and also work hard and put your all into everything. So, that's just a little background.
What was your background? Obviously, you're in a Sikh group. What was the foundations like as a kid growing up with Sikh, Punjabi, things like that?
So just generally like everyone else, go to the Gurdwara on the Sunday.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Not really understand anything, not really be engaged. And I think it was when I was about 14, 15 where I started to sort of really think about there's got to be more to this than just this life, than what's on the path ahead, basically. Yeah. So I started to sort of search and look around and looking for other meanings. So I used to read a lot of books.
Okay.
I was a really quiet introvert, and so I'd read a lot of books. And then I met someone who introduced me to sort of different philosophies and things like that. So I read a lot of Hermann Hesse.
Okay.
And then I started to touch on Eastern sort of philosophies and Eastern spirituality and stuff. So I read the Gita when I was when I was about 13, 14. And that was really kind of
mind-blowing.
It was fascinating.
All of a sudden you're like, Karma, Jananya, Mukti Yoga. What are these things?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it didn't make sense to me at the time because I was really young, but it was the kind of thing that I was looking for, the deeper meaning or the deeper understanding of the world and humanity. And then from that, I kind of looked at started looking at the Bible and the Quran, and then I came across Sukhmani Sahib.
Yeah.
And that was the one that did it for me, really. When I read Sukhmani Sahib, it was just like gems. Every Astapadi, every sort of line kind of had something amazing in it that just resonated so much with me.
Yeah.
And it was this just felt right to me in it. And then so after that, I started to learn more about Sikhi.
Yeah.
And then I took Amrit when I was 17. So it was and I never looked back since. It's been one of the most sort of awesome things in my life, really, and it's guided my life. It's made my life more purposeful, because before that I was just thinking, is this what all life is? It's just you just work and
die.
You grow old and you die, and then you're born again and you go through the whole cycle again. And I was like, there's got to be something more. So kind of in terms of purpose, Sikhi gave me more purpose to my life, that it wasn't just you're just like a pasu and you just eat, drink and just, there's some deeper purpose there, and Seva also provides that as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of like how I came into Sikhi, and and then I was involved in a lot of the camps back in the day.
Okay, yeah.
So I used to go to like the boss camps and the Naujawan Academy camps.
Yes.
And thing is, this is where my sort of design sort of stuff started as well. So I would design the posters for all the camps back in the day. So 1995, 96, actually 97, 98, and the 2000s. That's where I was like doing loads of posters and stuff. Some of them were really terrible. Like, actually, pretty much all of them were terrible. Like, but the thing is, it was like
where it starts, isn't it?
yeah, and the thing is, my phone would just be ringing all the time.
Yeah.
It'd be like, oh, can we do a poster for this Keaton bar? Can we do a poster for the camp? And I would just like start doing designs for the posters, leaflets, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in those days, there was no social media really. It was all done by leaflets and posters and stuff. Yeah. So I would just be designing those, and like within a couple of years, I had like a massive portfolio of like 150 different designs. And I was able to sort of take that portfolio and just get work, because I just had such a wide range of like work that I just just had to go at. Like, somebody would come and say, could you do a cassette cover for us?
Yeah.
I'd never done it before, but I was like, I'll work it out, innit? So I'd just have a go at it and come out with something. And then so when I would go for like an interview for a job, I would just be like, oh well, I'd have like pages and pages and pages of designs,
stuff that you've designed,
and it was like there'd be like a couple of good things in there that somebody would find. So, but the thing is, I was more of an output worker, like a production designer, where I could just churn out large volumes of work very quickly, because obviously like most of it was volunteering and done for free. There wasn't very much time, so you just had to be really fast and efficient.
Yeah. That's very good. Just a quick question with regards to your Sukhmani Sahib. Was it a certain book that you read on Sukhmani Sahib, or was it the Bani itself? Or?
I think it's that the Harbans Singh
Harbans Singh
translation.
Dwabias, yeah.
Somebody, it was in my house. Yeah, like it was just lying
Everybody
around.
had that. H.S. Dougal or Harbans Singh Dwabias.
Yeah, that one. So it was that one with the really nice velvet cover and that.
Red cover.
And it was just reading that, and I couldn't read Punjabi at the time, so I was just reading through the English translation.
Yeah, same.
And then it just fascinated me, and then from that I went like it was just like the simplistic sort of the sense of it really, and it very simply, nothing complicated, but just like really kind of just like there were just gems and nuggets of information and stuff that kind of just stuck with me, like, in it. And like even now, like they stick with me up until now, like, in it, those things, because they were just so mind-blowing and made me understand things a bit better, like, because we always see things from our own perspective, or somebody else's perspective, or how we've been taught. But seeing it from the guru's perspective, how they saw things, it kind of changes your mindset and like changed my outlook on life. And so I was really grateful for that. So but I realized that at that time that there wasn't enough people sort of learning and looking into Gurbani. So I tried to find ways of doing prachar, but through design, and so for me it was all about doing the posters. So I started doing like Gurbani posters and stuff like that with the Mool Mantra on there, with the translation. We did some of the like the Sanjanel Singh posters, all that kind of stuff, awareness about what was happening in India at the time. And so it just kind of in fact, like my whole kind of career, everything sparked off from that, like, and it literally. So that's when people say to me, like literally my business, my career, all this stuff, it just came out of Seva. Like, and it came
what was your first poster?
Say again?
What was your first poster or first piece?
I think I can probably remember the first couple, and there was a couple of them. There was 3 of them actually. The first I did one of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, which was like it was a 3D model of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. It wasn't very good yet, but it had sort of lights around it, and it was that one. So that one got used quite a lot everywhere. And then there was one of the Khalsa Mera Roop Hai Khas. I did an English translation of that in really nice kind of fonts. I did that. And then the other one was the Sanjanel Singh one that I did. It was one of the first posters, and I did it with.
Would have gone like fire.
It was it went a bit crazy.
At the time, you think about
I did, it. And it was like you had all when they're walking, you had them walking at the bottom, and then at the background you had Sanjanel Singh like in it, and then and then I had the thing there, the title on one side in blue, and I didn't really understand like print formats and stuff like that, so I was wondering why isn't my color coming out right? It's because I didn't really understand RGB and CMYK and how print works and how screen works. So like it was all trial and error. I was pretty much self-taught, so I was just at home with a crappy like 386 computer, just learning how to do stuff and trying and experimenting, finding free software, and that was it. Yeah. And I used to play a lot of computer games as well, so that really influenced me. That's why I went more onto the 3D side.
What sort of computer games?
Like, you know,
RPGs?
like, yeah, all like Splinter Cell, the Total War games, Shogun Total War, and Doom and all them ones.
I played Doom forever, man.
Yeah, Quake and stuff.
Opening
yeah.
stupid doors and shooting people all
Yeah,
day. I was like, that's
yeah.
my life. I loved it.
You know, I even played Wolfenstein. I remember that was the before Doom and Quake. It was like Castle Wolfenstein. So I even played those old school ones in it, like back in 1996.
Yeah.
Like, and I was playing those. Yeah. So that kind of influenced it as well. So I was thinking about, and I was thinking about games and animations like about 15, 20 years ago, but I just didn't have the means or the software or the skill set really. Yeah, but the ideas were there.
That's wicked. Now, I'm going on to a massively important piece because it's a post that you put out. Tell me about your education and where you got to in your education, because you are now a 3D artist, a VR developer, and an entrepreneur, and you've just had accolades for your business this year. You know, you're getting noticed all over the place. You're doing all sorts of other stuff, and we always talk about the importance of education. But for me, you put out a post a couple of years ago, and I'll say that afterwards, but tell me about your education, where you got to.
So I didn't really do that well at school. It's not that I wasn't clever or anything. It was just that I found the whole school sort of system, if you're not academic, it makes you feel inferior.
Of course, yeah.
So if you're not academically blessed or you can't remember things and it was about that, you know, all about that sort of stuff, then they kind of like make you feel as if you're not good.
Yeah.
Like, innit?
It's a big memory test, isn't it?
It is.
It's a memory test on crap that nobody wants to remember.
Yeah. So kind of like I went through the GCSE, didn't really do that well. And so kind of in a way that was a kind of like it helped me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it took the pressure off, oh, you got to do this and you got to do that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I was like a you know, a no-hoper.
Yeah.
And for me, that was liberating, because it meant like nobody's telling me to go and do like a degree in this or that or be a lawyer or engineer or whatever.
There's no pressure.
I was kind of like free to, and I just more enjoyed just doing kind of creating things and designing things and making things, and that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did really. I was pretty much self-taught.
When did you leave school then? Did you leave at 16?
So I left at 16. Yeah, I did go to college. I did a like computer repair because it was involved with computers. So I did that on the side. But I think all the while on the side, I was just trying. My focus was always on Sikhi, Seva, and creativity in it. So that's been like a theme throughout all my life.
Yeah.
Is that's always been there.
Yeah.
Is like I didn't really care about work or care about like career and stuff like in it, which is to my detriment basically.
Because not really, is it? Look at what you've done now.
Yeah. But the thing is that this all came later in it. So these all things developed. So I was just like, I want to do this. I want to make a game. I want to do this. So it's all big ideas, but like very little execution because obviously, you know, I lacked all the skills that you needed. So, but the thing is, because of all the production that I was doing, because I was doing all these like posters and stuff through Sikhi, we worked on the Sikh Side Museum in the year 2000. Okay. So that was a project that came about. It was funded by the Heritage Lottery, and it was a project that was looking into Anglo-Sikh history, and it was one of the first sort of, you know, Sikh history heritage website projects, you know, digital projects to come about. And I became the basically the project coordinator. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, by the way, but everyone just looked at me and said, oh, you've done websites, you do design work, you do it like on it. And I was like, all right then. So I worked on that for 2.5 years. A friend of mine from Coventry, a really amazing designer called Jagga Singh, worked with me on it. Yeah. And me and him sort of like, we were at the beginning, we've got all this funding for this project, and we're like, oh my God, what we're going to do, And kind of like, you know, we kind of, you know, made a little plan together. Oh, you do this part, I'll do this part. Yeah. And then so he took on most of the research work and stuff like that because that's where his skill set was. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I've got to get the website done. I had to manage all the like the committee and the people and the funding and stuff like that. So we kind of balanced it out with each other, and we managed to get that website done. and it was launched in 2003. It was about 2,000 web pages, like an encyclopedia of all these bit of information. It's all information that was out there in different collections, but it's about collecting and putting it online. And we also had like a 500 image library on there as well, like images from the First, Second World War. It's the first time these have been made available publicly as well.
Yeah.
And in that time, there was not many websites with that like.
Well, there wasn't with that sort of information on there.
The website's still live, but obviously it's not used as much. It needs updating and stuff like that. But I mean, I think the website did really well. The first sort of month, we had to upgrade the server because we hit our limits for like how much bandwidth we were doing in that time. So we had to sort of upgrade the server, and it was a really great project. So things like that kept happening, like, and it, you know, because of the work I was doing, and obviously people knew me for the work that I'd done. People would just contact me and say, "Oh, I need a logo doing, I need this doing, I need that doing," and I would just do it. And then there was a TV station. I worked at ZTV for a little bit doing animations, and then I worked at Asia One TV, which was a TV station on Soho Road, so I worked there for a little while as well. And then I would just like jump from job to job, just doing little things here and there, doing a bit of computer repair because I knew about computers quite well. Worked at PC World part-time, you know, and then I was just like floating around but for me, my focus was like, you know, what can we do to teach young people about Sikhi, like people our age. So it was like, so I was thinking then, you know, and there was no 3D printers in that time. There was these old pipe dreams and stuff. So I carried on the 3D modeling, kept on learning over a couple of years. And then because of the Sikh Side Museum project, I went to work at the museum. This is like when my son was born, Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery. Okay. So after that, you know, I worked at the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery. So I was working in their sort of collections websites and stuff. So I had an absolutely brilliant manager called Linda Spurdle, who was absolutely amazing. She really helped me and, you know, supported me in my work. So at that time we were working on the website and putting collections digital, you know, making them digital, taking photographs and putting them online. And so I did that for a little bit, and then I was having all these ideas about actually we could use 3D technology for this, we could use game technology for all this sort of stuff. And you know, at that time the museums weren't really that kind of, you know, forward thinking. So I was doing all my 3D stuff on the side, and I decided to sort of like put some of my work out there. So I started putting some of my work out there, and at that time I met a Singh, actually his name's Avtar Singh, Avtar Singh Gatora, and somebody from the Gurdwara, actually Sorod Gurdwara, introduced me to him that, you know, there was some funds going, EU funds, to help people from Handsworth and other areas like Handsworth. To actually go and do like a PG certificate, a postgraduate certificate at Wolverhampton University. And then there was a guy called Avtar Singh who was trying to get people together to go along. So I met Avtar Singh. He's a retired RAF logistics officer, and he was about in his like late 50s, 60s. So he's retired, but he's going to university and learning CAD and stuff like this. And he had a lot of skills in terms of, he would be at the Gurdwara and like, because he was an engineer, he would be building the gummets. And he would be making them. So he was like a creative, like a creator. And he wanted to learn about CAD so he could do building plans and stuff like this. So I met him for the first time. He would drive us every sort of Friday, me and a couple of other Singhs, and, you know, from the Gurdwara, and he would take us to Wolverhampton University in his Mercedes and, like, you know, park up there. We'd go for our lessons and we'd be doing like learning about sort of, you know, CAD and stuff like that. Obviously, because I'd been learning at home, I was already far ahead. So when I went there, I was like teaching the lecturers and stuff. And like, you know, and he would always encourage me and stuff. So he was kind of like a person who kind of saw something in me and told me to take it more seriously. And he kind of like became my mentor, my sort of like Mr. Miyagi. And like he kept sort of encouraging me, and I learned a lot of stuff about like plaster casting. He had this garage with like hundreds of plaster casts and stuff like that. And so he would encourage me, and every time I needed any help, or I need this sort of material, or I need to make this, he was like a maker, like metal, wood, anything. He was just like, he was just all over it. So he was brilliant, and he kind of really encouraged me and pushed me forward. And so because of, I went and did that course, obviously I had this sort of architectural sort of qualification now, a PG certificate. And they said, well, you've got half the credits. If you do half more, you can get like a master's for it. And I was like, whoa. You know, for somebody who's got no GCSEs.
I was about to say, you've gone from no GCSEs to a master's.
Whatsoever. Because I'd been doing a lot of 3D work. I had the knowledge already. So I did my thesis on the use of computer games in the architectural industry.
Yeah.
And through that, I got a job at an interior design company and an architectural company. So I would be working 3 days a week, had little kids at home, and then I'd be doing my assignments in the evening. And remember, I'm not academic yet. But my older sister, she's got a PhD, so she helped me, like taught me, like, this is how you write an assignment. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. So I'd be sitting up doing these assignments. But the practical stuff, it was just easy for me because I was already doing it.
Yeah.
It was just the assignments and the academic stuff that I had to sort of get through. But yeah, so I ended up with a master's in computer aided design.
That's wicked. What year was that?
That was like 2010, 2011.
That's amazing.
Like, so I was like, if you think about it, I had like my kids were like really young then, like, you know. So yeah, it was interesting period. But the thing is that sort of brought me into this sort of professional field where I started after while I was doing my masters, I was obviously putting my work online. There was quite a large engineering firm that contacted me and they said, look, could you come and do a presentation?
Yeah.
So I came and did a presentation. My focus was mainly on, look, we do still visualizations of buildings and architecture, but you know, we could use game engines and stuff in it. Like a game is literally an environment that you walk through, so why don't we use it for architecture? And my study was about that. Why aren't architects using it? And it was mainly about the perception they had of it.
Because they thought it's blocky.
They thought this is a kid's thing, like, this is not serious,
No, I remember you showing me like a room and it's like, here's what it looks like for the lights turn on and this. Oh my God.
So the thing is, they kind of offered me a job, like, so I worked there for like 10 years and then, and I worked there for 10 years. And then when the VR headsets came in 2014, 2015, obviously they gave us like a HoloLens and a Oculus, you know, headset and a Vive headset. And then so I started sort of working on those. So I was just like doing research and development of like immersive technologies for that period. And then like 3-4 years ago, I started to feel as if, like, you know, there's so many opportunities out there. And like I'm just stuck here doing like one thing, because obviously they're an engineering firm, they just want to do engineering
of course
stuff.
Their job
like,
is
I
to
wanted
just
to do
provide whatever the customer wants, isn't
and
it?
I was like, look, we could do some heritage stuff, we could do this, we could do that. And obviously their remit was very kind of narrow. And so I decided that actually I've got to sort of move out of here and start my own business and start exploring my creativity in it, because as a creative you want to create. It's your nature in it. And I realize this, it's your, you know, Kudrati, you know, Rab has given you this nature to create. And if you try and stop that, it's like stopping a tree growing in it.
They always say, you try to stop a flowing river, you're going to cause trouble.
Definitely.
It causes devastation and problems.
So the thing is, I kind of started getting depressed at work and stuff, and I didn't realize why. Like, I thought I should be happy, you know, good job, everything's fine and that. But I wasn't feeling very happy. And when I started to sort of then I started going to drawing class and sculpting class, and I thought, you know, I'm going to do something that I've always wanted to do. And so I started going to like sculpting class and drawing classes, and I started to feel that sort of joy come back.
So continually being educated again, aren't you?
So learning and just being creative, and that really helped me, like my mental health. My mental health, like doing sculpting for like 3-4 hours for me was just like, this is just ananda. This is wonderful to do, to create wonderful things and to be able to share them with people as well. So my creativity kind of when I was working, my creativity took a back step because it became about obviously establishing the family. You know,
it always does, because you have to put your family first. You have to put your wife first and your children first.
100%.
Because if you don't, that's going to be gone, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I started to see a lot of gaps, like in it again, like, oh, well, nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that, nobody's teaching people about this. So I started going out there and saying that, well, nobody knows about VR, AR technology, so I can start teaching people. So I started doing CPDs, like free kind of talks and stuff like that. And then, like, you know, because we were really good at it, we were good at explaining it very simply. Like, you know, somebody else would call us, say, can you do a talk for us? Can you come and do a demo for us? And then the business just started to grow and grow and grow from there. And so that sort of like nature of being open and transparent and sharing your knowledge really helped my business, because we were educating people about VR and AR, and then at the same time, you know, we were growing our business and, you know, networking as well. And then BCU came along and they said, well, we run this program called VR Birmingham, would you run it for us?
Yeah.
And so we ran that for 6 months, and like it grew to like an audience of like 750 members, and it became really successful.
Yeah.
And so we realized there that we can actually start to teach people. And so we've been like doing a lot of education. We teach 3D printing, 3D modeling. We also teach VR boot camps and stuff like that. So it became another part of our business. So now our business, while we do VR, AR, 3D production, we also teach it as well. So when
so you're teaching now. Okay.
Yeah, so we teach as well, like, and so that's so I kind of, we work with the Unity Centre of Excellence in Manchester. So I teach their master classes there. So I'm actually the head of technical skills there. And we also mentor for master.com, which is like an online platform for anyone entering the CGI games, VFX industry. And it's all like mentored by amazing like professionals, and so when people are coming in, they're not just being taught a course, they're being sort of mentored by like a professional. So that side of things is really sort of something that I've always wanted to keep alive, which is that giving back and helping the next generation of people come up. So because I knew how difficult it was for me, I had to be self-taught and to enter the industry. And so looking at the industry now and looking at the diversity that's not there, it's like that's like one of our like side missions that we've got in our business is to make immersive technology accessible to everyone.
Okay.
And bring more minorities, bring more women into the industry, minorities and communities into the industry.
Yeah. So for a guy who gave up his GCSEs to end up with a master's, that's quite a journey. For me,
funny proposition.
My daughter was doing her GCSEs, and on the day the GCSE results came out, you put up a Facebook post, and that hit me because you said, to all, good luck to all those people who are getting their GCSEs, but it isn't the be all and end all. You basically said, I was 15, I dropped out, I ended up in construction. I didn't get my GCSEs, it wasn't something for me, but God finds a way, sort of thing. And look where I am today. And that hit me because I'm sitting there going, I'm told my kids, get this fucking done, do this. What are you doing? What are you doing here? What are you doing there? Why aren't you? Because it was always drilled into us. But you got to do, because our parents came to the country and their education was worthless in this country. Even though Dad had like a politics degree and Mum did, she was educated here, so it's different. But it was like, they were like, we don't want you to sit in a hosiery business like we are 12 hours a day doing whatever. We want you to get educated. Yeah. And I read your post, and my daughter's stressed about getting her results, and I just said to her, whatever happens, happens. Yeah. I said, I don't care about your education. My thing is, you've given it your best, and that's all that matters. But follow your heart. Yeah. Forget following a career where you're just like, I want $10,000 or $10 million at the end of this or this. Follow what you enjoy. And she is an artist, so she's doing like an art. She's doing work in art, and now she's going into interior design. Fantastic. I was like, I know who to talk to. All right. I was like, so that's what she's going to degree for. And my middle one's saying she's really artistic. Youngest one's saying, I just said, follow your heart, follow your dreams. 100%. Education isn't all there. It's about what you do, experience, all sorts. And wherever God's going to take you is going to take you. But that really hit me because I was like, I'm watching this individual who I now know from the museums, the exhibitions. I've seen his work. I've seen the bus that he's created. Brought one, and we're all sitting there going, this man didn't get his GCSEs, and he's sat on this. And I thought it was really, it was really impactful, and it massively took the stress off my daughter at the time. It massively took the stress off, and it makes you think again, going, actually, in today's world, education isn't the most. Your YouTubers who are making millions and millions of pounds, some of them are uneducated. Your Sidemen, your KSI, people like that, who are on the internet, they're making more money than the educated ever will. Yeah, it's about the skills and abilities. It's about, like you said, entrepreneurship. It's about pushing yourself. It's about motivation as well, massively. So definitely. It really hit me, that did. Yeah. So with your business now, how many people work Taran 3D? How does it work? Or what is it?
We've got like about we've got a team of 6 people now all together, and then we have other freelancers we plug in when we have like overflow. Yeah. But so it's kind of growing. We're kind of, the business is doubling each year. Yeah. So each year we kind of increased in size by 2.
Okay.
So that's kind of happening at the moment.
Did COVID impact it?
So kind of in a way, yeah, the COVID was an interesting one for us. Yeah, it didn't impact us the same way it impacted different industries very differently. So for us, number one, it leveled the playing field.
Yeah.
Because we were just like some people in their living room or like in my garage, as you saw, just plugging away and trying to do stuff. But the thing is, everyone was in their living room and in their thing as well, and all of a sudden...
Because I've seen your business grow during COVID.
Yeah,
Massive.
yeah, no, it did, yeah. And so I think the other thing as well is our... the content that we produce, our business, the immersive sort of content, lends itself really well to virtual.
Yeah.
So I've been talking about, like, for the last 10 years about virtual objects, virtual environments, virtual experiences. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, everyone was finally...
Yeah.
Well, actually, we need virtual environments, virtual models, and virtual experiences. And my phone just went off the hook, and we were just like busy, like in it. I mean, the first sort of like year, like during COVID, like was just like absolutely like just like mind-blowingly like busy, like in it. Like I didn't even have a moment. I actually became ill in that first year.
I'm not surprised, overworked.
Yeah, just because I was just overworked, and then bringing other people in, and then starting delegating that information, learning how to manage. And you got to remember as well, when I started my business, I didn't have a clue how to run a business.
Yeah,
like I was learning. But it was that same thing, and because I taught myself before, I'm a self-learner. Like I can pick up any piece of software and I can learn it.
Yeah,
I can pick up any technology. I can learn it. With as long as I've got the time to do it.
Yeah,
and so I had that knack, and this was something different. It was like learning, and it was a new challenge. Actually, I actually kind of was quite excited by it because running a business, that's really different. Because I've done software and all these kind of things, and you're always learning and things are changing. But this was actually a new challenge, so I kind of relished it and kind of really enjoyed speaking to people, asking people about how they're running business, listening to podcasts, YouTube videos about running a business, and just learning. Like there's so much content out there, you can pretty much learn anything. So I just kind of started learning, and kind of it became really actually, I need to learn about finance. I need to learn about this and
accountants over there.
Yeah, I know. So I need. I probably still need a lot of advice there.
If you need it.
And the thing
he
is,
does mine. I with the podcast, with the money that I got from Secret Snippets. I was like, I don't want to lose my job. I'm a policeman. I've got to do everything honestly.
Yeah.
I need an accountant to fill in my taxes and pay everything.
So it's kind of like it's been a great learning experience really, and I've kind of really enjoyed it, and it's been like it's brought like and this is a thing, and going back to what you said about what is our aim and our goal. For our parents it was survival.
Yes,
joy for them was survival and seeing their kids flourish.
They had no hand-me-downs, no nothing. Did they?
For us now, it's different. Like it's not about survival; it's about quality of life, and And so there is a certain thing about, okay, what do I want in life? And when we think about our kids and we think, okay, we want them to be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer, but I think that we should want our kids to be happy in life and joyful in life.
And that's all that matters.
And thing is, if it doesn't matter if they've got like a really great job, and they're paid really well, nice car and everything. If they're miserable and they're
miserable,
depressed,
having a breakdown, it's not good, is it?
It's not good, and I think that's the key thing, really. I think if you follow your passion, if you follow what you're interested in, you're always going to be joyful, and you're always going to be creative, and you're always going to be fresh, and you're always going to be excited and enjoying it. And like for me, I don't feel as though like it sounds weird, like it's hard work, but like I don't feel as though I'm working. I feel as though actually this is interesting. Every project that comes along, it's like, and thing is I get to pick the projects now as well. Like I get to say, well, no, that's a bit boring now. Like that's what we don't do that many architectural projects now. There's only so many like kind of room configurations you can come up with, like in it.
Yeah, but it's not. I remember looking at the rooms that you created, and I was like, okay, I'm in like a 3D Hilton. I can't remember. Like luxury apartments. I'm like, like turn that light on. You're just like, I can see this room. It doesn't look like what I've seen on Minecraft. It's not like that. It looks like a proper room. So the work that you carry on, like I said, I thought it was really, really good. With regards to, obviously, you've got your private business, you got all that. I think most of us within the Sikh community know you from all the work you've carried out within the community. Because first thing I remember is seeing a Kickstarter.
I remember seeing a
Kickstarter with this bus to go up, and I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
you know, we were on Kickstarters looking at a roti machine, this machine, what machine, you know, all sorts of other things.
Yeah.
That's what we were all on there for. We're like,
Yeah.
what's going to help me in life? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, this Gurja thing, this what comes on, and I was like, whoa, what is this?
Mm.
How did that develop? How did that come about in
Yeah.
your head to go, this is my idea,
Yeah.
and this is what I want to make
So,
happen?
like I said, that was like during the time I was at work. I was really kind of like bored, you know, doing the same stuff at work. I was clocking it, but it was just like, you know, and I was just like, what do I do with this excess creativity and these ideas and stuff?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when you're creative and you leave those ideas inside, they start to fester a little bit.
Yeah, you get
They
pissed
start
off.
to sort of like, you know, get a bit dark and, you
Yeah.
know, whatever. And so like my advice to every creative that I meet, I always say is, look, this is in your nature and you have to create. You know, whether it's painful or not, yeah, you have to create. Like in it, it's gonna end up sort of not going well for you if you don't follow that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I started to go like drawing classes, sculpting classes, started doing sculpture, started learning digital sculpture, and then I saw, you know, looking at the digital, you know, looking at the sculpture landscape or the art landscape out there, like you can go online, look at any sculpture website, and you'll find sort of like Native Americans, you'll find your Spartans, your Romans,
they're
you'll
all
find, you know,
Greeks,
and
the
I was like, I
Hercules.
wanted like, you know, I wanted a Baba Deep Singh or like a Banda Singh Bahadur one, or I wanted like, you know, I want to see like a Sikh warrior, like, and it looking
Yeah.
amazing, like a Spartan, yeah. And I was like, there's nobody available, and there was a couple coming from India, but they were a bit sort of like, you know, I looked at them and I thought, yeah, they're okay, yeah, but they're a bit, you know, cheesified. They don't really have that sort of superhero quality to them,
Yeah.
yeah. Like in it, and so I was like, yeah, let's make a Singh, yeah, like in it. So I picked a Singh, you know, Garja Singh,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
in it, from Bota Singh, Garja Singh.
That's
And I just started to imagine, and I looked at the picture, you know, where they've got this, you know, shawl like, wrapped across and that, and you know, I started reading about the heritage and history and stuff like that, and you know, I started to sort of like say, okay, yeah, so let's make, first of all, I modeled up the anatomy, so I do a lot of
Yeah.
study in anatomy and stuff. So it kind of became, I was doing exercises in anatomy anyway. You see them on my feed, you'll see like anatomy, torso 1, torso 2, torso 3. And then torso 4 was basically, you
What
know,
you
Garja
think?
Singh in it. So I had the torso, then I added the legs and stuff, and then started doing the kashera. That was difficult because it's cloth based,
Yeah.
so I had to start learning how does cloth fall and things like that. And I mean, I look at it now and I think, oh, I could do much better than that now, yeah. But at the time, it was like,
No.
and so anyway, I was modeling this up, and I'd show it, you know, I show it to my friends and stuff like that. Not publicly though, because I was
Yeah.
scared to show stuff publicly, because you know, we all have this fear of showing our artwork in it, because we're scared of the judgment, or we're scared. So we're scared of the judgment, but we're also scared of the success as well. We're scared of the failure, but we're also scared of the success
Of course,
as well,
yeah.
because it puts pressure on you. You see, because it's easy to stand on the you know, the sidelines.
the periphery.
Yeah, it's easy
always.
to stand
So
there. Like,
it's-
man, I'm still learning. Yeah, like, and that's what I used to say.
Yeah.
I'm still learning and stuff in it. And like, you know, I was really lucky that I had some really good sort of people around me who were like pushing me, who saw something in me.
Yeah.
Obviously, of Taran Singh at that time, yeah, I went to a sculpting. He passed away actually, you know, a few years ago, and it was while I was at a sculpting retreat.
Yeah.
So I went to sculpting retreat for a week, and he passed away. I heard about it, and I was like really sad. But the thing is, I knew that he was always happy. Everything that I did, yeah, he got to see the Garja Singh, you see, like in it. And then I was getting more into the portrait, so that's what the course I was on. And you know, he was just so happy when he saw Garja Singh and what we'd done, you know, because these are the dreams that we had like few, you know, from years ago, like
When you went for masters and things like that.
that's it. And so I was at the sculpting retreat, but all I felt was that, you know what, I knew he'd be proud, like in it, that I'm continuing on, I'm carrying on and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And so the Garja thing was there. I was working on it, and then my friend would come down, and he would just be like, "Oh, that's really nice. When you make it, just make it for me." At the time, I had no 3D printers. 3D
Yeah.
printers weren't really that popular or cost effective at the time.
Yeah.
So I would be sending it off like for a print. So the first print that I've got it actually somewhere in the house,
Yeah.
and I got it printed. It cost me something crazy, like £150. Like,
Yeah.
and I sent it off, and it got printed, and it came back, and I was able to see it. And then he said, "Oh, make me one." And then my cousin came down and said, "Oh, make me one." And everyone who came down and had a look said, "Make me one."
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine called Diljit, yeah, and he's really great. He does a lot of like coaching and, you know, neuroscience and teaching and all that kind of stuff, yeah. And he was just like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Why don't you just do a crowdfund or
Yeah.
a Kickstarter and stuff like that?" And I was like, I was doing the usual excuses.
Nahi
Nahi
main karna,
hale,
nahi
you know, the
theek hai."
quality's not there. I'm still learning at the moment. This is the first test and that. He's like, look, just do it. So I said, all right then. So I did the video and everything, and then I had to put myself on the video in it, and that was really difficult. Oh my god!
remember
Like,
seeing
put a
it.
camera there, and I had to film myself, and I was like, this is just not gonna happen. Yeah, I was like, didn't have the confidence or nothing. Cause I didn't really like being in front of a camera or anything like that, or doing interviews like this. It's because of the business.
I know that. I know how hard it was to get hold of you.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, it's like, and it's like because the thing is, right? It's because of the business. I have to do it now, and
Yeah.
it's like now there's no excuse. It's like I'm not doing it for myself.
You have to do it for the
It's
business.
for the business,
yeah.
and the business ain't gonna survive if you don't do these things. So
Yeah.
I kind of got used to it, and so I did the video, and I made it more about the story. So I said, okay, so I'm not comfortable being myself. I said, well, I'll introduce myself, and then I'll just tell the story of Garja Singh, because that's what it's about, really. And so I said,
So what did you do? Did you read like the Panth Prakash? Because that's in the
Yeah,
Panth
yeah,
Prakash.
so
Garja
I-
Singh, Butta Singh, they take on the Musliman who say you've caused blasphemy,
yeah.
and then they take like bullets and bullets and bullets before
So
they
they
die.
take over the checkpoint. You
Yeah,
see,
they're
and,
also-
and I think for me, it was really iconic because even though it was like such a short story,
Yeah, it is.
it's so iconic, because for two people, just to kind of just out of defiance,
Yeah, exactly.
just to defy, and you know that story, like spread like wildfire across Punjab,
Yeah.
liking it because it was a bestie to the ruling Mughals, wasn't
Exactly.
it?
These two
that two
things.
things just said no,
No.
forget you, liking it, Arjo fair,
Yeah.
and did their complete and utter bestie as well in the process. I mean, these things are solid, liking it. You know what I mean?
For
And-
me,
and-
I depicted it as something you've seen Dragon Ball Z.
yeah.
You know, when anybody who hasn't seen it, there's Super Saiyan. There's these Saiyans who fight Android 13 and 12. And those two androids kick the shit out of everybody. And it's that.
Yeah.
When you read that
Yeah.
story, you're like, I can see that in anime form. And these two just took them all at the time.
So for me, it was more about like imagery, really, innit?
Yeah.
Like the images that we see, the superheroes, the films that we watch, they have a big effect on our psyche and our like outlook and our like our ideas. And so I thought, well, I really want to see a really powerful thing, like in it. I want to see a really powerful thing, absolutely kind of awesome looking and just ready for like war, like just showing that when they came here, he was just like ready, like in it.
Yeah.
And so I started modeling it and started trying to sort of like, and thing is when you're doing artwork, what you're trying to do is you're trying to interpret a feeling, you're trying to interpret like an idea, and you're trying to like interpret it into something physical.
Yeah.
And it takes time and that. So I was working on it in that way and worked on it, and then did the Kickstarter, and then I was scared, nobody's gonna fund it. How are we gonna get to £12,000? Yeah, like in it, because that's the minimum order I could make. Yeah. How are we gonna get that? And I thought, you know what? I said I'll make it 30 days.
Yeah.
Just give me more time and stuff in it. And literally, like, it got funded within like 4 days.
4 days? Yeah, it was done. It was done. 'Cause
It was
I
done in
remember,
4 days.
I'm
like,
sharing it on Sikh awareness,
Yeah.
Sikh Sangha,
Yeah.
Sikhism, everything. It was
So
sharing.
that was like really, that kind of really boosted my confidence, like,
Good.
and it was really nice that it came from the Sangat as well, and
Yeah.
that like they kind of approved, and they said Tika, like there's a few kind of naysayers and stuff like that, but you're always gonna get that, like,
course
in
you
it, that that's like kind of normal. And so that kind of happened, and then I went through the process. The year after that was actually getting them made,
Yeah, I remember.
which was really painful, like, in it.
I remember seeing your Prakash Samagam with them and things like that.
So I was
and-
like getting the packaging ready and all that, and I didn't enjoy that bit, like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then I realized actually I've got to find a different way of doing this. And so ever since then, I mean, that was about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've still been developing the statues, but I haven't been like going out and doing a Kickstarter and doing selling it, because I'm trying to find sustainable way of doing it. You see.
Yeah.
Because I think unless you've got loads of massive amounts of orders,
Yeah.
which we won't have with the Sikh community, you can't really fund it properly,
No.
like in it. So what I realized was that what that Kickstarter did for me though was I could afford some 3D printers.
Yes.
So I used the money from that, the profit from that, I invested in 3D printers. So I've got 2 3D printers of my own now. And I was able to start prototyping and working on these. So
Yeah.
just now, so I've had these busts that I've done for a while. So Singh and a Singhni. So I've been working on a Singhni statue as well.
Yeah.
And then finally, I got the 3D printer to a stage, tuned it up and everything to a stage where I can now print these at home.
Yeah.
And that's really cost effective and sustainable, because it means that as long as my kind of printers are carrying on printing, I can like just start making these. I don't have to rely on a manufacturer.
Yeah,
I don't have
exactly.
to get large print runs
You
done.
don't have to cost of
And
delivery.
literally, we
cost
make them
this.
to order. So we've got like 4 different colors,
Hmm.
you know, and a friend of mine's Sati, who runs Urban Akali.
Yeah.
So they do all these like T-shirts and Male and things like that. A
Yeah.
lot of this is Sikhi kind of related material,
yeah.
like in it, design work. And like, I met him and he was just a lovely guy, and I just thought, you know what, you love selling this stuff and meeting people and doing this stuff. I like making it. I said, what if I make it and then you can just sell it for me?
Yeah.
And that, because I can't be dealing with all of that, because that's the thing, because we're so busy in the business and the work that we do,
Yeah.
all the heritage work and all the teaching that we do, that I haven't got time to manage that customer service. That's why I haven't sold any in the past couple of years. And I get like a couple of emails a week saying, "Oh, can I get your statues?"
Yeah.
I'm like, really sorry.
Yeah, but quite obviously, just talking to you, it isn't something you're interested in.
No, actually, it's not.
Not
Yeah.
something. It's not something
Yeah.
you're interested. There are some people out there that just go, "I want to be." Your Nimrata shows it. You don't want to be ahead of anything, and at the same time, you're just like, "I don't want to be selling this sort of stuff." Because then I've got to put myself out there. You've got
Yeah.
enough on as it is.
Yeah.
And I can see, while there's other people that are just like, I want to be doing this. This is what I want to be doing. So you found an outlet with Urban
Yeah.
Akali where he's
100%,
able to
yeah.
do that side, which you hated,
Yeah.
but you still get to reap the benefits of seeing your creative side.
And I'm happy to see them out there as well, because I want people to have them in it. Because like, I went to my sister's house and she's got them on her on her mantelpiece, and
Yeah.
she absolutely loves them. And I looked at them and I just thought, you know what, that's what I wanted in it. I want
Yeah.
people to enjoy them. I want people to see them. And like for me, when I look at it, and it obviously. For me, it's like I have this affinity with the sayings of the 18th century, that time in it. It's like I always go back to that time in it.
Yeah.
And it's like when I see it, it reminds me of them.
Hmm.
So for me, it's kind of like it's so much more deeper than just creating. It's not just, for me, it's not like I create a statue and then I sell it.
Yeah.
That's like really cheapening the thing. For me, it's like, these good Sikhs, gave up everything for Sikhi,
us.
what they believed in and stuff in it. And so for me, it's like I'm honoring them, like, and I'm remembering them. It's like we can't do anything for them.
No,
You know
but
what I mean?
but their story is now shared.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, they don't know about Gajra Singh or Bhutta Singh. They don't know
Yeah.
that story from Padma Prakash because it's not Katha that is regularly told
Yeah.
at all at the Gurdwara. Singh's sister's got the Baidyalaji statue on her mantelpiece.
Yeah.
Again, everybody talks about Bhai Mati Das.
Yeah.
That's the one Shaheed they always talk about when it
Yeah.
comes to Nanak Pasha's Shahidi.
Yeah.
But then you got Baidyalaji, Bhai Sati Das. Those are all there as well. But and just seeing the imagery when you see that bust, you're just like, man, that's some Kamai. I get scared of a hot
100%,
bath,
yeah.
and these lot gave up their sarir.
Definitely, yeah.
And for me, it's what you've done is visualized portions of Sikhi that don't exist,
Yeah.
or they did exist, but aren't daily remembered anymore.
100%, yeah. And I think it's about making it real, because a lot of our stories that are told, they're all told word of mouth and through like paintings and stuff like that. But I think for people, we need to sort of make our heritage real. And the way that we make our heritage real is we move it into new media formats.
Well, we've seen the new toys coming out. We've seen,
they're really good. Yeah, really fantastic.
So that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
it's like I said, the other thing is representation. Everybody's got a Spartan bust.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a Hercules. I've got an Achilles one from when we went to Corfu. We've got more stories of war and epics and
100%.
martyrs than
So much
anybody else.
content, Yeah.
We went to Rome. You see the story of Saint Sebastian, and you see the things of Job, and the old biblical stories.
Definitely.
You're like, hang on, ours are only a couple of hundred years ago.
I mean, really, to be fair, all I want to do, even starting the business, like I didn't really want to start a business. I don't want to become a businessman or an entrepreneur. That wasn't my sort of
That wasn't the
thing.
intention.
No, that was my intention, really, in it.
Yeah.
In it, we're doing really well at it, but it wasn't my intention. Because all I really want to do is sit at home and sculpt these like statues and stuff, and make animations like of things and singing and talk about Sikhi and tell stories about Sikhi.
Yeah.
But the business is my vehicle for doing that.
Yeah.
So as the business grows, my plan is that I will be able to extract myself out the business. The business can run itself.
Yeah.
with me managing it, overseeing it, and then I'm able to buy back my time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I can
because it's
understand.
all about, that's what it's always been about. It's always
enjoyment
been
of
about
life.
time.
Yeah.
And for me, I want to buy back my time so I can then sit and just do like sculptures and awesome stuff like this, and you know what I mean? Like
No, I love it. I absolutely love it.
yeah.
How many busts have you done? Because you got by God just bought the thing. You got obviously by the LSE.
Yeah, so this one is one that I've been working on for a while, and
Yeah.
I've been struggling with this one for a long time, and
Yeah.
so I do like little bits here and there, and it's meant to be Bibi Hashankar, you know, who did the
Sanskar of the Sahibzade.
there.
Yep.
So I kind of visualized her like this, and I
Yep.
with ready for war and stuff, and I've done various different poses trying to get which one would be the best for her.
Yeah.
So I've done her with a bow and arrow, and so it's all about experimenting. And these busts came about because I'd been working on these for a while, and then a friend of mine contacted me and said, "Oh, we need to give some. There's a Gattaca competition. We need to give some gifts to the kids."
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And I was like, you know what? You know, because you see statues and there's usually like
Yeah,
a footballer
exactly.
on there, and I was like, well, look, I said, look, I can't promise, but I'll try and print some for you.
Yeah.
And so I just printed a load of these for him really quickly and that,
Yeah.
and then I gave them to him in Wolverhampton, and they gave them out to the kids and that. And I was just like, you know, and then, I was talking to Sati about it, and I said, look, I printed them. I said, I just need to find some materials and that. And the thing is, for me, it's about the finishing in it, because I always want to
course.
give a good
Quality
quality
piece,
product,
yeah.
you know. So I was able to. The problem with 3D printing is, right, it's a not. There's two different processes, and you got your resin and your FDM. And the resin one is really good, but it's really hard to reproduce. Whereas this one's really easy to reproduce and
Yeah.
cheaper. And things, I want to make it cost effective for people as well. I don't want it to be too expensive. So I kind of like, this is a good balance of quality and, speed as well. So I kind of, opted for these and said, okay, these are ready to go out, finish the product, and let's just get it out there. So yeah, so I think we've got about like 30 of these that have gone out so far. And we
That's
only
wicked.
went live about, I think it's about a week ago.
Well, yeah,
was
so
it?
it wasn't long ago,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
remember seeing the three of them. And I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell's this?
Yeah.
So where's this come from?
So we got ones going. They've been going out to like Texas and America and like
Yeah.
you just don't imagine. And even when the Gurja thing, the Kickstarter came in, I mean, we went as far as Malaysia, like Africa. There was things, Kenya and places
yeah.
like that. And then we had like loads from Canada and America was loads. UK was loads. And then we had like Abu Dhabi, Dubai.
It's surprising
places
how
like
many
that.
are out there.
And then Malaysia, a lot of Sikhs hung up there, and even Australia. We had a couple going to Australia as well, so that was really cool.
But they were done in bronze, weren't they?
We did so they were done in resin,
Yeah.
So that was done by a casting technique.
Yeah.
So they were doing casting, and I learned how to do the casting, and I did a
Okay.
bit of the casting myself, but I couldn't do all of it, so I got somebody else to do it for me. And it's a very costly process as well, which is why I'm looking at 3D
Yeah, of
printing
course.
now, because it's more cost effective. Because the thing is, rather than having to order 500 or 1,000
Yeah,
stuff
exactly.
with stock, now like Sati says to me, "Oh, we got to order for the stone coloured ones, or we got for the granite version ones," and I'll actually just print them to order.
Yeah, but
now.
that's the best thing, isn't it? That's why
And,
my
yeah,
books are print to order. I'm
exactly.
just like, I can't afford to spend £4,000,
Yeah.
have a load of copies, and
100%.
like now go, I've had 70 orders.
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
2,000 books out here.
Yeah.
I can't do that. It's not cost effective.
So this is what we've come to now. So the technology is there now. So we've got like 3D printers. We've got access to 3D printers now, and then that's going. And so I've done these. I've got Bibi Shankar. I've got some guard statues. So these are the guard versions. So Singh and Singh with guard. Guard. I've done one of by Fawja Singh,
Yes,
which we're
we've
going to
just
be
seen that,
releasing.
yeah.
And then I've got one of which one was it? I've got one. There's a couple that I'm working on where they're like meditation poses and stuff like that, and meant to be like, Baba Deep Singh and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's one actually that I'm working on, like in it, which is Sanjanel Singham by Amrik Singh in it.
Oh my God.
But I won't really reveal too much about it. But there's one I'm working on that one as well, like in it, which is going to be epic, like in it.
I'm sure it will be, man, considering all of these so far.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm working my way through, but at the same time, I'm learning as I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just learning, and then each time I add something new to it. And thing is, I think the heritage stuff has really helped.
Yeah.
So we've been working in heritage for the past couple of years. So we're doing the Anglo-Sikh side.
Well, that's the next question.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll let you ask that question then.
Right,
Yeah.
so I was going to ask, tell me how you got started with the 3D sculptures for Shaheed, which you've done.
Mm-hmm.
But the next question I want to, how did you get involved in the augmented reality? That was one of my favourite things.
Yeah.
watching my kids with the augmented reality going, oh my God, what's this? And, the work that you've done with the 3D artifacts for the Anglo-Sikh. Because did you do the Kohinoor as well?
Yeah, the Kohinoor,
So those sorts of things for me, and the virtual display where you can rotate all the items, the information there.
Yep.
Tell me how you got involved in that. Obviously, it looks amazing, but I'm guessing it took absolutely ages to do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you'd be surprised actually. Some of those pieces we were able to pull off very quickly and efficiently. Okay. So obviously I've got a background in heritage because I worked on the the Sikh Cyber Museum 2003, and then obviously working at Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery. Okay. So there I was around collections and digital collections there as well. Anyway, I know Gurinder Singh man from Leicester. Yeah. He does a lot of heritage work, a lot of research and stuff. So I was talking to him, and we've been having a couple of conversations, and he kind of mentioned how some collections are really hard. It's a shame that our kids are never going to get to see some of these artifacts. Yeah, because heritage items are really important because they make things real.
Yes.
When you see a Roman marble statue, or when you see an artifact from history, it makes that history real because there's some proof that it happened. Yeah. And unfortunately for us, a lot of our heritage artifacts are in private collections or hidden away or locked away or lost.
Lost or destroyed.
And so these are the couple of problems that we were trying to solve. So he was like, they're very expensive to insure. Private collectors don't want to let go of them because they're afraid, that they'll get stolen or somebody will take them. Museums have them in storerooms. There's no perceived sort of interest in these items, so they're not put on display because a lot of ethnic minorities don't go to museums. Yeah. So I started to think about this, and at the time, we were digitizing buildings and, buildings that hadn't been built yet, for example, the Grand Central train station in Birmingham, New Street. Yeah. We visualized the whole kind of food court before it was being built. And I was like, well, you know what? I could model all these things. I could model these artifacts, and we could sort of recreate them. And I said, not only that, I said we could change the way that they are and put them in their original form, or fix them or repair them, or if we haven't got them anymore, we can recreate them. Yeah. So he was just like, okay, let's do a little test. So we did a little test in our own time. Yeah. And we started with the Chirena in it. Guru Gobind Singh. So I did one plate, the front plate.
With the Jab Sahib and Chacha Ishand on it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I started with the first one, and I did the first one, and the results were coming up really well, and he took it to America to a conference and presented it. I remember that, yeah. And so the feedback was really good, and he was like, look, let's do a few more. So we did the Kohinoor, and we modelled it with Kohinoor. Yeah. Actually, not how it is in the Queen's.
No, it's how it was before.
How it was on Maharaja Ajit Singh's arm.
Yeah.
So when we show people that and they see it on an arm, on the.
Because you look at it and you're like, when you go to tacky Indian weddings, they got the massive diamonds and just and then you see that and you're like, that's a real diamond of that size. Yeah. That's amazing.
And so so we did that, and it came out really well, and then. He was doing an exhibition, Anglo-Sikh history exhibition. He says, look, could we put these on a screen? And I said, look, let's put it on a screen. Let's put it on an augmented reality screen, and let's see what happens. Yeah. And so we only had a really minimal fee. It was next to nothing. I was doing it in the evenings and weekends, while I was working. And it was a real big success. The museum said, look, all the kids and families.
We were there first day. Yeah. We were there first day at the talks. And we were the first ones to try it out, me and my kids. So I remember being that. It was not just the augmented reality, but it was I remember walking in. It was the Newark Houses Museum in Leicester, next to De Montfort University. Yeah. We had the lectures, and then after that we walked in. First thing is your screen with the weapons on and the Maharani Jin's items and things like that, which the kids could rotate and information on there. Mm-hmm. That was amazing. So that's not even the augmented reality. Then you saw the replica of the Kohinoor. Mm-hmm. And then in the last piece where you saw the uniforms, the Dasam Granth Sahib that they had there, which was from the battlefield with the Shastra, and then you had the augmented reality. And I was like, it's the first time I'd seen anything. I remember you going, we pick up the little piece of
QR codes,
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. And you're like, no, put it in front. And then the kid's like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. So I'd never seen anything like that.
So the idea was that kids could play with it, because what we said was, look, kids go to a museum and they see something behind a glass and they look at it and then they walk off and they're bored. Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything to them. But my idea was that what if they could pick it up virtually, And so we did the touch, that screen, belonged to the museum. They had it in some storage container somewhere.
Okay.
They weren't even using it, and we requested, can we use it? They gave it to us and we put it on and we made it work.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And so the following year, they did a heritage bid and they got the funding. So that time we got a bit more money, you see.
Yeah.
So we said, let's digitize more objects and let's do a VR one. So we digitized about another 12 objects, and then we did a VR one. So now in this VR headset, you can actually pick up the sword now.
I saw that, yeah.
Pick
I
up
was
the
there for
shield,
that as well, yeah.
And you can do all that. So that was really fun. And we took it around to the schools and everyone loved it. And you know what? Kind of a lot of my business actually started because of that project. So again, Seva drives your passion, drives your career, drives your business, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, for me, it's like, well, if I'm passionate about something and I'm creating things and I'm putting them out there and I'm sharing them with people, the business just comes in, the business comes naturally, you see.
Yeah.
Because from that, other museums started approaching us and other businesses started approaching us. Can you reproduce this? Can you digitize this? Can you scan this room?
Yeah.
And it just kind of exploded from there. And then I went down to 3 days at work, and then I was doing the business,
Okay,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? And then eventually, when I was able to replace those 3 days of work with money from the business, I was like, well, there you go now, innit? And then now it's full time and stuff. And then 6 months later, pandemic hits.
Yeah.
And then we were just inundated and then just busy, innit? And then now we're 3 years later now, and we got a team of 6 people, and we're working with museums, we're working with medical companies, working with automotive companies, car companies to visualize their cars. We're working with universities. We've worked with manufacturers, large manufacturers from America, designers in Canada, and it's just kind of exploded.
Good. And so it should do. With regards to those sorts of artifacts and the augmented reality, are there any further plans with that, or is that sat there as it is and
that stands as itself. The idea is to put another bid in so that we can do some further stuff. And obviously we're doing some work at the moment in the metaverse. So the metaverse is what the next version of the web is going to be, which is going to be more interactive, more environments, more 3D environments, and people walking around and experience things rather than just looking at a web page.
So are you doing that within? I know there's the metaverse is out there, Decentraland, Axios, and other places. Are you looking within those? Are you looking at setting up your own metaverse?
No, so we're building our own sort of and I don't think it's not gonna be one big metaverse.
It's not I
mean, you're gonna have these big platforms and stuff like that, but really it's gonna be like web pages are individual web pages. Going to be loads of individual little metaverses, And to be fair, we've been doing interactive online 3D since 2010. So we did the first online interactive environment, which was the Shah Jahan Mosque.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say.
In 2011, the video's still on YouTube. So when people talk about metaverse, a lot of hype around it now. But really, a lot of us who work in the 3D immersive industry, we've been doing it for 10 years. It's just a new name that they've given it, you see. It sounds quite,
Well, they
funky,
talk about it more because of the cryptocurrency that goes along with it. So Decentraland and Cardano, those sorts of crypto coins that go within the metaverse. It's about money making for Roblox and things like that.
So we're looking at making sort of online museums now where you can interact with these objects, you can listen to the history and hear it. We were on the West Midlands 5G test bed as well, so we were part of the accelerator that was testing their technology, so we got to test all of our immersive technologies on the actual new 5G test bed, which is going to be coming in, which was absolutely brilliant.
Did it make a massive difference with regards?
It does actually. So it's not just faster internet. I mean, it's faster, it's not just faster internet, it's actually richer experiences. So we can do augmented reality. So we did the Commonwealth Games. So during the pandemic, the Commonwealth Games, obviously they couldn't get the mascot out there. There's a guy in the suit goes out, Perry the mascot. So we actually created a 3D model of the character and made Instagram filters so everyone could take photographs with Perry the mascot. And the limit for that is about 4 megabytes. So it's got to be really efficient. So we had to really get this to a good quality. But very, very efficient, no kind of wasted polygons, anything like that. So you've got to be really efficient with it. And we managed to do that. And with 5G, you'll be able to do sort of 10 times that.
Okay.
So we did a test where we were trying to send it to 75. So 4 megabytes generally on a normal sort of connection
Yeah.
will download in sort of like under 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So we've tested our models on there. Most connections it will download in under 5 seconds. With 5G, you'll be able to download 10 times that. So that's like going like 75 to 100 megabytes. So we made a package with an artifact, and it had like newspaper clippings, audio files with it. It had like videos with it as well. And within that package, so our idea was you go to a museum, you scan a tag, like you see something that you like, or a sword or a helmet or something like that, you scan it and you can take it home with you.
That's wicked.
And then you can view it on your screen, and it comes up on your table.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of like listen to all the history of it. You can see all the newspaper clippings, and you can see all the information about it.
In my mind, everything Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
That's
Like
basically
Back to the Future 2. What was the other one? Like Star Trek.
Star
with the
Trek,
holograms
Total
and
Recall,
stuff like that.
those sorts of things, yeah.
So holograms work on mobile phones at the moment, augmented reality.
Yeah.
But when these new glasses are going to be coming out in the
Yeah.
next couple of years, Apple, Apple,
Google,
Google,
yeah. Snapchat had one,
all
Instagram,
of them,
all those,
they're
yeah.
all developing these AR glasses.
Yeah.
Microsoft have got one called HoloLens. I've actually done some
Yeah.
work on it, but it's too expensive. It's about 2-3 grand at the moment.
Mm.
The American Army bought like thousands of them, but
Yeah.
they're not going to be that useful for them though, innit? Because they didn't.
That's the American Army,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? They'll
Did
just
Donald,
buy
did
it.
Donald Trump pay for that?
I don't know who paid for it, but they paid a lot of money for them. So the thing is, when these glasses come out and they're able to sort of like put an object in there and it tracks, that's where things are going to get really interesting, like in it. And I think we're already in that arena. We're already producing the content for it,
Yeah.
and that's actually a lot of our business is actually producing content for other companies. So a lot of engineering companies out there with 3D data, and they don't know how to use it. The thing is, lucky for me, they all use computer games engines now to be able to visualize this, real-time engines as they call them now.
Yeah.
So we're sort of taking people's 3D data, processing it, getting ready for VR and AR. And also we are teaching the companies. So we actually go out to the companies and we're teaching them, actually you're doing it wrong. This is how you need to do it, because you're working in a game engine now. You're not working in a CAD program.
Okay.
So that's a lot of our business, is just educating people about how VR and AR works, and the technical aspects of that they have to go through to get to that point.
That's awesome, right? You're like the Tony Stark of the Sikh world, aren't you? That's basically what you're saying. No, for me, it's just amazing. I love all the stuff that you're doing. And like I said, I look at this stuff and I'm just like, I know I was just saying to you, I was just like, I'd like these as big sandstone busts on the front of gurdwaras and buildings. And then I'm just like, the Warhammer little toys, I'd like to be able to paint them. There's so much you could do. But the problem is, you're going, I've got enough work on myself. I don't want any more. It's that sort of thing. But
definitely, I think that one of the statues. So you're talking about the bigger ones, we have actually done. I have actually sculpted a statue for Leicester City Council and the Memorial Committee there.
Yeah.
So it's a Commonwealth Sikh soldier from the World War One and World War Two, and that is a digital model that I've created, and that's going to be CNC'd in foam at life size, and then created a bronze. So with life size bronze sculpture going into Leicester Victoria Square within the next sort of year.
Wicked.
Yeah, so it's getting to
that's
that point
that's
now,
going where they do the Remembrance Parade and everything, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so Victoria Park where they do
there,
that. Yeah. Oh, that's wicked. I didn't realise that. Those rumours, because obviously we've seen them in Smethwick, we've seen them in other places. I didn't realise you were doing that. That's awesome. No, I absolutely love the work that you do, and like I said, idiots like me have millions of ideas. We can't implement anything. I can barely draw a stick man. So my kids are really creative, and I always say to them, I'm just like, I'd like to do this, and I see I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a company who's doing like Sikh NFTs with Sikh art and things like that, and I'm just like, all of your items could be an NFT. You could do different NFTs and just one of a kind, not created into something, and all of a sudden you're just like, there's something there. There's real Sikh collectible art. There's
I think that was the really key thing for me as well, is like when 3D printers came around, it was like, actually there's something tangible there now that because usually it was a 3D model on a screen and there's not much you can do. But now it's kind of like, actually whatever I produce in 3D, I can now just 3D print it and that's really cool. And I'm doing some other work as well in terms of like VR. So I'm looking at doing I've already done a virtual version of the Harmandir Sahib online. And so I'm working on that, and I'm also working on like a VR meditation room with like Maharaj in front of you, Guru Granth Sahib Ji.
Yep.
And it's kind of like going back to the first image that I did, the first 3D image that I did was of Guru Granth Sahib Ji in it.
Yeah.
It's like an old image, it's like floating about on the internet.
It's the one that you find on the old Prakash Samagam posters.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So, and that was like, that's going back like 20 years now, almost. Yeah. And so doing a VR version of that you can actually step into, and then you can sort of like you put the headset on, and you're actually you're in this sort of environment, and you're all around. You see space, and there's an ocean there, and you see Maharaj with light, and it's just meant to be sort of like a meditation. So that's something I'm working. I'm going to release it as a sort of like a 360 YouTube video and a VR application, and also I'm going to release it like as a screensaver as well, so you can just have it, because I just put it on my TV, like when we're doing Reras and stuff, and it's just nice to have in the background something to look at. Because thing is, I think some of us were very visual. Yeah, we always need something visual, and so I think especially with young people, it just gives them something to focus on and something to think about things differently.
I totally agree. We were talking to Gyan Buljan Singh in Leicester, and his thing was he grabbed Singh over there, Kamalpreet Singh, and he's like, I need somebody who does animation. He goes, got so many stories in Suraj Prakash. I'd like them all 3D animated, very quick, 2-minute, 3-minute things. Very very quickly. And he's just like, the visual representation is what is going to help the next generation. The next generation are used to looking at internet feeds that don't last more than 15 seconds, 10 seconds. And that's what they're into. Their attention span is gone. It's just absolutely gone. And you've got the ability to do that, but
so what I'm developing an animation. So I did an animation about 20 years ago, and it was called Awakening. And at the time, obviously, I didn't know how to animate properly, but I made it, and it was about the Banjor, basically, torturing your soul, and then your soul taking Amrit and then finding freedom and awakening. And so I made the animation and like ever since then, I've thought about this, how I really wanted it to be. I mean, that was like with limited skills. And so now I'm working on the full version of that now. And the good thing about the business is helping me to fund it. So we've actually bought a motion capture suit, which will help us sort of record motion into characters for 3D animations and now. And so all of that is kind of, it's starting to come about. And I think when I was younger, I had this very naive view of things, and that things don't work without money. It's really difficult. And the thing is, I never really wanted to take money off people either. So the business has been great, because what it means is I can invest in the things that I have, I find valuable, and so that's been great, being able to get the equipment and the stuff that I need to make
to fulfill the ideas that are in your head.
100%.
I bet there's a million ideas floating in your head that you can't even put.
I could literally just sit there, and thing is that I think that's why our business does really well, because when we speak to clients, we are there as creatives. They're praying for our creativity, so we're coming in and saying, have you thought about doing this? What about this? What about that? And so we can just stream off like ideas, like one after the other, and different ways. And a lot of it is visual communication. And even my job before, the job that I did before I started the business, it was all about interpreting engineering solutions into visual presentations so that clients could understand. Like, engineers would turn up with loads of boring information and data, and clients would just not understand any of that.
Because until you visualize something,
definitely. So being able to visualize it and show that in sort of different different ways, and communicating visually, I think is really important. And especially for young people, visual communication is a large part of their learning. So I think we have got a long way to go in terms of Sikh content, providing it for our young people if we want them to learn about Sikhi.
But it's not just about Sikhi. You can imagine anybody who's autistic, anybody who's got those sorts of things, and trying to put things into perspective without visual aid is very difficult to 100%. Do. And this is going to massively help those people. And we seem to, I think we went to Shepherd's Bush Gurdwara, and they said we do a special Kirtan Darbar for people who are autistic. So the lights are down low, the Kirtan's done more quieter, things are done, and you're just like, we forget about it. These people are in our community. And they are part of our community. We don't look at those sorts of differences where they might need these sorts of things. So creative tools within Sikh schools, whether that's like the Nishkam schools or Punjabi schools, these are going to massively influence people. So when the stories are being told by the storytellers going, there's a saying this and this happened, there's just like, I can visualize the Shastras, I can visualize what they're wearing.
Because I just think about, like, in the Sikh community, where are we investing a lot of our money?
Yeah.
We invest in buildings a lot, like,
Yeah.
in it. We invest in events a lot as well.
Number plates.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, what I usually say to people is, rather than investing in those things, find people doing interesting projects.
Yes.
You know, find people who are doing really useful that are going to be useful for your kids, yeah.
Yeah.
And invest in those, yeah, because literally, like, for the cost of like one extension on a Gurdwara, I mean, we could do prachar to like hundreds of thousands of Sikh kids,
Yeah.
and create content. And some of the content coming out of India, yeah, is not resonating with the kids from here.
No.
They expect a certain quality or a certain way of communication. And thing is, unfortunately, the stuff that comes out of India, it's really good for India, but it's not good for it's not received very well here.
Well, it doesn't hold the attention of kids here.
No.
It doesn't.
And the quality isn't there either, and that kind of thing hurts me more, really.
Yeah.
You know, we've got statues being made which are like of really bad quality. Like, and it was recently a statue went up, and a Sikh statue that went up, and I was like, I was offended by.
Which one was that?
I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't want to like put anyone down or anything. Yeah, but the thing is, I'm just saying, you know what? We can do better than this. You know
Of
what I
course
mean?
can,
I
yeah.
look at a lot of things that come out and I'm like, look, we can do better than this.
Yeah.
And we have people in our community who are talented, skilled and willing and able.
Yeah.
And we need to enable those people. But we're not doing that at the moment. We haven't learned to sort of empower our creative ambassadors.
That's the big thing now, and I think that's a big drive. We've had Buljinder Kaur from Wolverhampton. She's
amazing, yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Yourself, I've seen the work that's been done by Taran Singh with the Anandpur Sahib. The creative that's coming out now is what's been missing for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
If you visualize something, you see a piece of art, you do whatever. Art compels emotion, emotion compels creative for other people and interest as well.
Yeah.
So it's like when we went to Rome and you see pieces of art and you're like, what is that? What is that? And I remember seeing a piece of art at the Vatican, and it was a marble statue where you see this Hydra come out and it's attacking this individual. And I'm like, what is that? And then you go onto the Greek stories, you're like, oh my God, that's this. Then you see another piece of art and you're like, well, what's that? Right. And then I'm on the internet again and I'm like, right, that's another Roman epic, that's a Greek epic, that's an epic. And that's what art does. So seeing these sorts of things compels individuals to go, wow, that's amazing, but what is it?
Yeah.
And it brings intrigue and interest into individuals, and especially that's what we want with the next generation.
And thing is, it inspires as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like I've seen artwork by like Rupiko, like in it, and you know, what I mean, it inspires you, like in it, and it does. And thing is, that's why, and I think in our community we don't value art as much, and we don't really understand it, like in it. I think because everything's been about survival, the art patronage that happened during Maharaja Ranjit Singh's time, we did lose a lot of that, a lot of the research and development, a lot of the sort of the education that was being done, we kind of lost it all. And the other thing that I believe is that in terms, this is why I love the work that you do, is because a lot of the English translations that were made of Gurbani, they were made to communicate with Christians, like they were made to make sense to Christians, so they're written in a certain way. So nowadays we've got Sikhs who have a very Christian outlook of Sikhi, they don't really understand Eastern philosophy or Eastern spirituality,
metaphysics within the soul, the Atma, they don't understand anything.
Because they're still in that, and it's like even like Lord Indarjit Singh, like, and he's literally like, he interprets Sikhi as Christianity, as closely as he can, and so those things are never going to make sense to him, and certain bits of Gurbani. And what I'm starting to see now is that you're getting these young people coming up who don't really understand that, who interpret Sikhi as, you know, in terms of the Abrahamic faith, like in it, very much so, Lord thou art and all that, like in it. Whereas we say, you know,
Paramatma, Parameshwar, Hari, you know,
Tu mera mata, tu mera pita, you're my mother, like in it. How, you know, you don't do that in the Abrahamic faith because that's a female, but we say, you know, you're my mother, you're my father, you're my brother, you know, and this is a thing in it, and so they're not really understanding that, and then getting away from this idea of there's this kind of overpowered being sitting somewhere, you know, commanding and, you know, destroying and doing all this stuff.
That's George Carlin,
and it's like, you know what, it's like you don't really understand. And then there's one thing like recently which really kind of bugged me, like in it, whereas they don't really understand Simran, or you know, they don't understand meditation, Sikh meditation. Yeah, to them it doesn't exist. Yeah,
No.
because they believe, like I've spoken to people who have said to me, you know what, no, you're not supposed to sit there and just repeat a word. Yeah, you're supposed to, it means contemplation, it means like, you know, you think about things and you work things out, and then you, but I'm like, no, actually, you know, you can't say that. Yeah, because Maharaj says Ucharo Ram Nam Lakhavari in it.
Yeah.
I said bar and bar Prabh Japi in it.
That's it.
They're clearly saying
they
in
say
it.
it again and again, don't they?
They're saying
Yeah.
you sit there and you repeat the name and you
They
meditate.
say
Yeah.
Sovathanam.
And the thing is, with the Christian or you know Western mindset, you can't that they can't accept that. You see,
it's
you
not
know?
just that.
Yeah.
What we have, unfortunately, is Sikh missionaries
Yeah.
adopting a Christianized attitude.
Exactly,
Where
yeah.
they go, this is Thotharat, and this is what
Yeah.
parrots do, where they repeat the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Well,
And they say it's
not-
ritualistic,
yeah,
yeah.
of
But
course
even
it
taking
is.
Amrit is ritualistic. Even going to the Gurdwara
What
Matha
they
taking
do.
is ritualistic. But the thing is, it has a purpose,
Yeah,
like in it. It has a
exactly.
purpose, and it invokes a certain feeling, and it evokes. And so this is one thing I think like is a big threat to Sikhiya, is if we lose our spirituality, yeah,
Yeah.
then we lose the essence of Sikhiya, because none of Gurbani makes sense here. Because if you say even Sukhmani Sahib, yeah, where Maharaj says, you know, what is the most important thing in Sikhi in Dharam, yeah. Maharaj tells us in it. He says, Sarab Dharam mein Shrest Dharam in it.
yeah.
Har ko naam jap nirmal karam. He goes, the biggest thing that I want you to do, the most important thing that I want you to do is Har ka naam jap in it.
Look, the whole Sukhmani starts off with Simmer, Sukhpaul,
Yeah,
Gal Kristan,
exactly.
Mahimata,
Yeah,
Simmer, You
But
know,
if-
so it's all about the first starting is just
yeah. And the thing is, but if now your philosophy or your teaching teaches you now that, oh, that doesn't, Simran doesn't mean sitting there and repeating the
Yeah.
name and meditating, yeah. It means like, oh no, I'm just contemplating, I'm realizing and I'm making myself aware. And I'm like, well, no, you can't say that, because the Guru has clearly said, yeah.
But that's where the mindfulness things
Yeah.
come from, because it's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
same as mindfulness. And you're like, no, mindfulness means
Yeah.
negating anything in the mind
Don't
and
get
having
me
a clear
started
mind.
on mindfulness. Yeah,
No, I think mindfulness
Yeah.
has it, because I go to the Buddhist center
yeah.
when they do mindfulness. So
yeah.
they tell everybody, right, you know, and now sit in contemplation, close off everything, anything comes back away. When
Yeah.
they do that, I'm like, this is the best time for me to do
Yeah, no, I
Naam Simran.
understand.
So I
Yeah,
sit there doing
exactly.
Naam Simran, I'm doing that.
Exactly.
I'm like, close my mind, nothing
Yeah.
else, anything else comes in back away.
And it's like, this is like, look, companies out there, big businesses out there now. It's big, mindfulness is big business
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going out there.
It's like
And
Haldi
there's
Dud.
It-
That's
it
what he
is.
tells me, man.
Yeah.
He's like, we used to get force this rubbish,
yeah.
and now
So the
everybody's
thing
paying
is,
£5 for it.
It's like what I tell people, like people come and say, you know, oh, mindfulness. And I say, look, our Sikhi, our like way of life, our dharam, yeah, is built on mindfulness, yeah. Like this is just a new word that you come out with. We've been doing this for thousands of years, yeah. Like our people have been doing this for thousands of years. So don't try and come and teach me about mindfulness, yeah. Like
Exactly.
I will teach you like it if you want, yeah. But it's kind of like that. I think it's a good thing that people are starting to look into it. But I think there's just too much there's too, you know, it's like that thing.
It's the hippie movement.
Yeah, it's too much hype around it.
Yeah.
And now people are all of a sudden, and I find this with the Western world, yeah, they take ideas from Eastern philosophy and Eastern thought, yeah, and they're very good at sort of getting these like yoga and all these like things, yeah, and then packaging it and then reselling it, like in it, and redesigning it. Oh, this is mindfulness is just it's meditation, yeah.
No, I've had the same conversation yesterday in the office, where I said, it's like selling sand to the Arabs. That's what you like do, right?
Exactly.
I said, simple as this. Said, you lot tell us about meditation, like Bikram meditation, yoga. That's not meditation, or that's not yoga, right?
Yeah.
But you lot package it and try to sell it back. I said, and I was saying exactly. I was like, you're trying to sell us turmeric lattes for £5 a piece. We've been having that for ages.
Yeah.
I said, now your big thing is oud. Oud is your big scent, and everything's like £150. I'm like, we've been wearing it for years, and you lot go, ooh, that smells. That's not right. But as soon as something becomes popularized, you try to sell it back to us.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's,
definitely,
that,
it's like
and that's what's happening with missionary Sikhi.
But look, it's happening in the business community now, yeah. So the business community all of a sudden now is talking about giving back and looking after people, and you know, I'm like, well, this is the tenets of Sikhi, like in it. Like I run my business based on Sikhi principles, like,
Yes.
innit? We look after our people. We're honest with people. We look after, the goodness that comes out is more important than the monetary value, like, innit?
Exactly.
There's a value, and I was talking to somebody about this as well. I said we do a lot of events, so we do a lot of like cyber events, and we do a lot of awareness events and stuff like that. We don't get paid for those. We go to schools and do school kind of careers fairs and stuff, so we can educate young people. We don't get paid for that, but there's goodness generated from that, like, and it's seva. And I said, I don't need some newfangled person to write a business book and tell me about this, because, and this is what I try and tell people, like, we always put we have so much value in our community, in our Sikhi, and we put it to one side and we look to the West because we think they've got all the answers, And all of a sudden now they've got like, oh, at work you should be kind to people. I'm like, oh, you just realize that now, like, innit? I said, Maharaj says this 500 years ago, innit? Be kind to people, do seva.
Yeah.
You know what? If you're depressed or you're down and out, try helping someone. Try
else.
doing someone seva. We go to the Gurdwara. We've been doing seva for bloody years, like, innit? And I was like, now you're telling me go out and let's do a day where we go out and we help people and we serve people. I'm like, you know what? That's a fantastic idea, And I know someone who did that 500 years ago and it worked out really well, like, you know what I mean? It's like, why didn't you just come to us in the first place, right? And we'll tell you this stuff, because it's really good. It's good for your spirituality. It's good for your, for your atma, and you know what I mean. It'll bring joy into your life. We can tell you these things, but if you just want to package it and sell it back to us and say, oh, it's mindful now, oh, it's called ethical business. It's called
protection of 9 protected characteristics.
We've been doing this forever. It's called Sikhi. It's called Taran. It's called meditation. It's been around for thousands of years. And you know what? Yes, you should learn about it. And rather than repackaging it, just go to the source and learn about it. You'd actually get a lot more out of it, like, in it, because what they're doing is they're getting the orange, they're getting the juice out of it, they're diluting it and then giving it to people. I say go to the source and get the pure
Not
juice,
even that.
like,
they keep the juice. We get all the shit that comes out the back of the juicer. That's what's happening.
So but it's a good thing that it's entering business. I'm seeing a lot, especially during the pandemic, in the business community. I'm seeing a lot more people talking about sort of mindfulness and talking about people's welfare, people's mental health and stuff like that. And I'm like, 100%, man. Let people go to the Gurdwara. Let people have a break during the day and go to the Gurdwara and listen to the Bhat. I said, this is Sikhi, like, innit? And when I listen to all these big business people talking about these things, I was talking to one of his business guy, and he sold his business and he made a load of money and then he got depressed.
Okay.
And then he only found joy by sharing his money and helping other people. And I was like, that's literally daswan, then it, like, innit? I could have told you that, like, innit? You know what I mean? And it's like, and I go and I tell my kids as well. I say, look, Maharaj has already told us. He's already put these things in place.
Not even that. The worst thing about that's been in Jewish and Christian doctrine since Jacob gave a tenth of his tithe of goats from then. It's been in Islam since the dawn of time, so it's one of their 5 pillars. But all these people have basically broken away from religion, found a bit of spirituality, and
definitely. So that was a bit of a rant there.
That's fine.
This mindfulness stuff, but it's really great.
You've touched upon another question I was going to ask you was your cyber seminars. I've seen you got another one coming up with Harjan Singh Lali, the Nishkam Seva Jatha and things like that. So how did they come about? Was that just because you said you learn everything yourself, you're self-taught. How did you come about putting these together, these symposiums, and putting people together?
So what it is, because we're in the immersive industry, we get involved in a lot of things. So we're attached to the Steam House at Birmingham City University in Birmingham Town Centre. We're at Birmingham Open Media, which is a place where art meets technology, which is an amazing place. And all these different amazing things are happening. Like, look at these industries. Cybersecurity is exploding, immersive is exploding with all this metaverse stuff. You've got like artificial intelligence exploding. All these like industries are absolutely kind of exploding now at the moment. Really high growth areas. And we did an event at Nishkam, had a International Women's Day. And I went there and they said, look, can you bring your kind of like VR headsets and tablets and stuff like that? And so I said, all right, I'll go along. So I took my stuff along, I had VR headsets there and I got the women to try all these AR, augmented reality. And they'd never seen anything like it. You know what I mean? So these are women from, Sikh community, Pakistani community, Somalian community, immigrant communities, females who'd never ever seen this technology. And I was like, wait a second, these technologies are like pervading like every industry at the moment, like, innit? But thing is, our communities over here, yeah, they're not getting to see this industrial revolution, this
Yeah.
new revolution happening, and they're being left behind.
Yeah.
So I thought, this is a bit of an issue. This is a problem actually that I can see, because when I go into the town centre and I go to all these places, all this amazing stuff's happening, and it's all great and that. But when we come back to Handsworth, like,
It's not there.
the community's being left behind. So I thought, why don't we do the events here?
Yeah.
Why don't we bring those amazing people here, like, and speak to the people here? So we spoke to the Nishkam
Civil
Centre, yeah, and Ajit, who works, he's a really great guy who runs the place.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I've got this idea, we really want to run this innovation hub thing, and they're doing the same sort of thing, because they're doing like apprenticeships. They help people with welfare. They're doing amazing work, and it just kind of like it was a synergy, like an alignment. They're trying to move the community forward and help the community. I mean, if you think about it, they've got schools for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got a pharmacy, and they're going to have a medical centre there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got like a social enterprise where they've got businesses which give people jobs and train people up. And and they're going to be moving forward into other ventures as well, looking at older people and universities and stuff like that. And so this fits in really well with what they're doing, really well with what we're passionate about. And we said we started the Handsworth Innovation Hub.
Yeah.
And literally it's like we do events there. Anyone can come in from any age, come in and learn about stuff. So the first event was just a general one where we invited people and launched it.
Yeah.
And, we had 40, 50 people come along, and, it was really great atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then the next one is cybersecurity. Now, cybersecurity is a massive exploding industry. So much opportunity there. But you know what? There's not that many, diverse people there.
BMEs.
Yeah, there's not ethnic diverse people. There's not enough women in the industry.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like desperate. How do we bring these people in? So we're like, well, look, we've got access to the community. Why don't you come and tell people about what the opportunity is?
Yeah.
And it's not only educating people; it's educating the parents as well, because the parents are the ones who are there going, you either become a doctor or a surveyor or an engineer, like it. But the thing is, they don't realize that somebody in cybersecurity or somebody in like full stack development or AI earns more than doctors and engineers now, liking it. And so we're coming there, to educate the community, and that's how these events came across. So we've got a second event next Wednesday. It's going to be on cybersecurity. We got Harjinder Singh Lally, who's from Warwick University, Prashant Pillai, who's from Wolverhampton University. We've got Anita from Aston University. We've got Ian Vickers from MetCloud, one really large cybersecurity firm in Birmingham. And so we've got all these amazing people coming and talking to a community. You know what I mean? They usually go to conferences and talk to like other people like them. I said, why are you talking to people like yourselves? Because they all know it. Yeah. Come and talk to the community and tell them what the opportunity is, tell them what's happening here.
Yeah.
And it's just an opportunity for the whole community really to sort of, learn about these technologies. So yeah, that's where that's come from. And we want to do more of that.
Well, it's not just that. You've allowed those people behind you to network as well. So Harjinder Singh Lally and those people that can talk to each other and go, what are you doing new? What am I doing new? Here's what we can share, and it just helps bring all that about. The thing with that is how much are you seeing an impact with the local communities?
Yes, so we are. So there's certain people who are coming forward. So I'm getting a lot of people contact me saying, look, I'm working in logistics, or I'm working in in a certain industry or manufacturing and stuff, and I want to move.
Yeah.
I want to move into a new industry. So it's like these events are perfect for them, because they can come along and say, well, actually, cybersecurity sounds interesting. What's it about? Go and speak to somebody there. Okay. Because it's an hour of talks, but then it's an hour and a half of networking.
Yes.
And so that's where all the magic happens. And we're having like young people coming in saying, I'm really interested in programming, and they get to meet people. And it all sparks ideas. Networking is so important.
Yeah,
it's like meeting
massive.
other people.
That's the whole point of this.
Yeah. Meeting other people, knowing what their ideas are. And you know what? A lot of our business, has come from just meeting people. Like, look at the heritage stuff that me and Grinda did. But that came from him saying to me, oh, I got a problem. And me saying, well, have you ever thought about this?
Yeah.
And then it turns into a project. And then 3 years later, it's like a massive heritage lottery funded project.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like our conversations are really important. And sometimes, we have ideas. And there's a lot of people out there who will probably have ideas, and they've got dreams of things they want to do, but they never do it because they're afraid. Yeah. And things we need to get out there and start telling people about what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
Tell people what your dream is, talk about it, put it out there, start doing it.
Yeah.
And rather than talk about it, but then start doing it as well.
It's implementing it, isn't it?
And sharing it, yeah. And I did this with my kids as well. So my kids are like artists, both of them, and the little one as well. And I just said to them, I said, start sharing your artwork. Every time you do something, share it.
Yeah.
Document what you've been doing. Yeah. So somebody can understand where you've come from and where you've been and where you're going, like,
Yeah.
in it. And they can see, 'cause thing is, right, you might have a skill, yeah, that people really want, like, in it. Like, in it. Like, I've told you now about what I can do. You've got a good understanding. Now, if you have an idea that involves any of this,
I've
you're
got
going to
loads.
contact me
Yeah,
first,
yeah,
like, in it.
straight away, we've got
So the
loads.
thing is, like, if you're not telling anyone about what you're capable of or what you're thinking of or what you're dreaming of, yeah, how are they going to engage you with you know, in that work? And so it's really important to go out there, and a lot of us are shy and scared to put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
But I say, you know what, you just do it, go for it, like,
Yeah.
innit? You get your stuff out there, start sharing it, start telling people about what it is that you want to do, because the more that we have that, the more people, you know, it will change people's lives, because, you know, they will start to find, because thing is, it's at the end of the day, you get joy from it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the simple as that, like, innit?
Yeah.
I get joy out of creating these. I love doing it. It's
Yeah.
it's like if I had some spare time on the weekend, yeah, and I've got nothing to do, my you know, my natural instinct is, let's start creating something. Let's see what I can make in it.
Yeah.
And that's joyful, in it.
Yeah, massively.
And it's not just about, I do this work and I get paid this much and I do this. You got to think about the happiness that it comes out, and for our kids as well, we got to understand that what is going to bring joy to your life, in it.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the things that you love and you don't do the things that you're passionate about, then the joy in your life, you know, is diminished. Really, you know?
And the thing is, that causes all sorts of mental issues. But I totally agree with you. It's about networking. Networking is massive. Sharing what you can do, and just saying, look, this is the opportunity that I have. These are things I can do. It's like when I started writing the Job to Sub book, and I was never going to finish this. I got up to this. And I remember talking to one of my cousins, and he said, "Well, how much have you done?" I was like, "I got up to this body."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, how big is it?" I was like, "It's too big. It's already 700 pages." I said, "I'm never going to get to it. It's going to be too big." He goes, "So what's stopping you now?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And he went, "Why don't you release the first part, just the first body?"
Yeah.
It's like, it's 200 pages. And you sit there and you're like, I don't want to do this. You know, at the same time, you're like hesitant. And he goes, "You've got an idea. You've already done it. Just put it out there." He goes, "If you get nobody reading it,"
Yeah.
he goes, "at least you've done it."
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's like an Instagram video of this guy. And I remember looking at it, reading it. And somebody said, "What's the greatest advice or the greatest thing you've ever read?" And he said, "It's a kid's book called like The Fox, the Mole, the Horse, whatever." And he goes, and two characters end up in a jungle, and they're like, "We've got to get to the other side of the jungle." And he says, basically one of the characters is saying, "I'm hesitant, I can't see a way through." And the other character says, "Can you see your next step?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "We'll take that, just do one step at a time."
Yeah.
And that's such a valuable thing, you know. Just like, I want my goal to be there, I can't see it getting there. Well, take one step at a time. You know, if you're going, I want to implement one of these.
Yeah.
Well, start creating a bust. Start thinking about, I want to get it to a 3D bust. Well, first you got to create the image. You got to picture what's in your mind, put it into a creative, like you did.
I always think about that Shabad there, you know, where Maharaj says, "Take one step towards me, and I'll take 1,000 towards you." And
Which Taran Singh got ek banda jai.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And so, like, it is that you got to take that step, innit?
Yeah. And that's what it is, and you're rewarded in that way.
And the thing is, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah,
Exactly.
Nobody likes your post. Yeah, nobody likes your page. Like, even when I did the Garja thing, I was like, I was like, well, you know, what's the worst that can happen? Nobody orders it, and then I'll just go back in it.
How are you? So yeah, that's the thing. It's recording. You're on video.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's right. You can cut that bit out,
good.
but look, let's have some
we
food.
keep
Yeah.
it. Listen, but it's that sort of thing. It's like, what is the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
For me, it's that. It's like, and my cousin said that to me. He said, "Release your book." He goes, "If nobody buys it, nobody sponsors you."
Yeah.
He goes,
What if
"You've put your body of work out there. In 100 years' time, if somebody reads it, they read it." He goes, "If nobody reads it," he goes, "what's the worst? You wanted to release it, it's released, and just do it." And I just think you need to take that first step. Everybody needs to take that first step. If you've got an idea, implement it.
Definitely, yeah.
And take that first step towards implementation.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that's so important to get started. And I think, like, even with the Garja thing, I just told myself, well, if nobody buys it, at least I'll have one for myself, because I just wanted one in it.
I wanted my own book. I was like, at least I've got a copy of it myself, and I've got it, and I want it in a physical format.
Yeah.
If nobody else buys it,
Definitely.
I'll have my own stack of my own books. That's
100%.
it. Nice thing. That's absolutely great. Right. I know this is going to blow some people's minds because they're going to be like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I can barely wallpaper my own house, but I want to do all this sort of stuff. And the whole point of this is networking. We need the next generation to come along. I know you said your son's doing a lot of stuff, but I'm hoping that this talk will inspire other people.
Yeah.
And in order for any questions to come our way, if they contact us, we ain't got a clue what they're talking about. So can I get hold of some of your social profiles for people to contact you on, please?
Definitely, yeah. So like I'm on Instagram as Taran3D. You can follow me on there. Twitter, Taran3D. On Facebook, Taran3D. And on LinkedIn, you can find me as Taran3D as well. So yeah,
that's
it's really
a lot easier,
isn't it? Yeah.
No, that's fine. Because that's the thing. People are interested. You're going to be... I look at it, and they always say that those people who have entered university and are doing year one of their degree, a lot of people end up finding jobs that weren't even created at year one.
Yes.
So they get to the end of their degree, hit year 3, go into a career that wasn't even around when they were at year 1 uni. And I can see the work that you're doing. You're going to be developing stuff that people today aren't even thinking about, but we release in a year's time, and I'm hoping they contact you. Like I said, I remember coming to one of your talks, that thing about, you can make a 3D image, take all these photos, like 180 photos, go around. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I failed miserably because I got a crap computer. But I'm at the age of 42 and I'm still learning, and I want to keep learning.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that others do. No, that's absolutely brilliant. With regards to anything that we've spoken about, is there anything you want to add to it?
No, really, I think that's fine. Yeah, I'm going to be starting a Patreon for the animation soon.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Right, future projects.
Yeah.
What are your future projects, and what do you...
obviously I've got the VR meditation that I'm going to release out for free. I'm just going to give that to everyone because I just think it's just a lovely thing to give to the Sangat, and just a nice sort of like bit of imagery that people can use, and I hope everyone uses it as well. And then I'm working on this animation at the moment, and so I'm going to be setting up the Patreon to be able to support that and fund that.
Yeah.
So we've just bought like a motion capture suit, and I'm gonna move on that really. And I think hopefully slowly I'm going to be sort of, the business is going to sort of like be sort of like more kind of like running a bit smoothly.
Yeah.
And then that'll give me enough more time and stuff to work more on the sort of like Sikh animations. Obviously I've got loads of ideas for the sculptures that I want to do, bigger sculptures. I'm going to start doing bigger versions of these now.
Yeah.
This time I'm going to custom print them myself.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to custom print them myself, make them myself, and then sell them.
Limited edition.
Yeah, limited
Yeah,
edition
you need to.
ones, yeah.
I've got. It's quite sad. I've got like Transformers busts.
Yeah.
I was just driving.
Yeah.
I'm a 42-year-old man talking about this, but I've got them, and they're like 1 of 500, and they're certificated.
Fantastic.
With a number, but that's what you should be doing. Limited edition. Go.
Definitely.
There's only 50 of these. If you want them, there's only 50, and there won't be any more.
Definitely.
And then move on to another one. Go. There's this many.
That's it. So yeah, I mean, I've got a statue in a glass case now. So I bought that glass case to go and test how I was going to do it, because mass manufacturing these doesn't really work.
Okay.
Because they break in the post. So I'm going to custom make these and put them in glass cases, and then people can buy them with or without a glass case and have a custom piece sort of thing.
What about? Obviously, you're making these sort of busts. They're okay. Are they all right to post?
These ones are okay to post.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
But
why don't you start like a? I've got the books thing that happens. Why don't you do something similar where people put money towards something, and then they get an exclusive bust that goes out every 2 months, and only those people that sponsor it get it.
I think I think it would be. I think I'd have to think about it.
It's only if you obviously if you can do.
It's hard to maintain
economical.
because like it's easier for me to just do something and then release it.
Yeah.
And then not have to think about it again.
Yeah.
And then I just keep supplying. I'm ordering another 3D printer, so I'll be able to do 2 batches at the same time.
Yeah.
And so Sahi will just tell me every month, I need 6 of these, I need 8 of these, and I need 5 of these. And then so I'll do that. And then I think as soon as I sort of, because the thing is, what I want to do is I want to do something, and then I want to move on to something else. Really
but that's what I want. That's what I want you to do. I want you to do something. Go. Yeah. This month I'm releasing one of these, but it will only go out to my sponsors.
Yeah.
And then in 3 months' time, they see another one. They're like,
I think that's what I'm going to do with the Patreon. So the Patreon's
that's
going
what
to
I
be more like oh, you subscribe to it, so you have
Exactly,
a monthly
that's
fee.
what it is.
And then basically what will happen is that each month you'll get to see what we're working on
Yeah.
next, like, and so it might be a motion capture, it might be that, but you get to be a part of the project and maybe
Yeah.
steer the project as well.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the ways I can keep creative control as well, because that's one of the reasons I've stayed away from funding a lot as well.
Yeah,
Is because
otherwise
I don't want
people
somebody
influence.
coming and saying, oh, you got to do it this way, you got to say this and you got to do that. And I'm like, no, actually, we've got a clear vision. We know what we want to get across.
Yeah.
And we are the creatives, you're not, like, in it. So you need to kind of back off.
Yeah.
And so funding through the Sangat is probably the best way, because we will the people who really love it and support it will come through and it will resonate with them. So so that's kind of future plans there. In terms of the business is like just going really well at the moment. We're really busy. We've got 5 projects on the go at one time.
Yeah.
Another 3 projects incoming. And now we're just putting the structures and processes in place to be able to just manage the work now and that. And so I will probably end up being more of rather than doing the actual work, I'll be more like the creative director.
You're creative sleeping director, CFO.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
so I will just like manage the creativity and quality check it,
Yeah.
and then the work is done. And we've got some really good people coming into the business, young people who are teaching at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I'm really kind of excited about that as well, like increasing the team and seeing them become managers and kind of move up and like I'm very much of this sort of like, I don't think that you should stay anywhere too long, or like, and I think like Gurdwara committees shouldn't stay in there. You shouldn't. When you stay in a position, you become stagnant. You see?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that organizations should be built and stuff, and then you should move on and hand it over to the next generation as quick as possible, because then it stays fresh and it becomes alive and it stays what it needs to be. Because I think a lot of our institutions, they're irrelevant now.
Yeah.
Because they've become sort of like they've not passed on to the next generation, and they haven't sort of continued that line of bringing new fresh blood in and then it becoming fresh and new.
Yeah.
And so so I'm excited about seeing that sort of kind of grow out of the business and all these events that we're doing and all the people that will come out of it.
Yeah.
And seeing them flourish is going to be really kind of nice. Then I can retire and just chill and do like statues in my garage and that's it.
Good. It sounds good, man. It sounds really, really good, to be honest. Have you got any questions for us?
No, not really. I haven't got any questions.
I can't answer anything for you. I was about to say, not based on what you do. I can't answer anything. No, but that's wicked. Were you sure? Nothing else you want to add?
No, I think we've covered quite a lot.
No,
actually,
it's really good.
So
it is really good.
Enjoyed talking
for
to you.
For me, this is the one that I'll be showing my kids.
Yeah.
Because this is the sort of stuff I
no, I've really enjoyed it. I kind of I found out of the through running the business that I do actually I was very reclusive for many years, I was very sort of introverted. But I found that actually having conversations with people, there's a lot of value to be had from that.
Yeah.
So I think what you're doing with the podcast really important, disseminating information, sharing information, networking. And I think we need more of this within our community. And
lies, man. We're trying to be the next Sidemen on YouTube. That's all. We're trying to be the new KSIs. Just trying to get famous. That's all. No, but that's it. We need to do that in our community. We don't do enough of it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it shouldn't just be focused on Sikhi, but it should be focused on the worldly work that we can do in all the different areas that we do. So that's it. Nice thing. I just want to say thank you very much for being part of our podcast.
No,
I'm sorry I've badgered you to death as well.
Pleasure.
I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry it's taken so long. It's like
I'm really sorry I have badgered you. But
for
me and Singh, it was really important to get you on because we see your work. I see your posts. I see all the stuff that you've done when we've been at the exhibitions, and I think it's really important. It's the one thing that's connected my kids to Sikhi, doing those sorts of things. I think it's really important. And I just want to say thank you for being the fantastic on the podcast today. Flawed and Foolish, we've learnt something massively. And I just want to say thank you very much. I'm going to thank your wife for the fruit in a minute as well. That's absolutely real. Right, Singh, with regards to the podcast, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll have you on again in a year's time to see what you're doing new.
Excellent,
No problem. Right, it just goes out for the Fateh Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.